to another episode of the world's greatest news and reviews. I'm Captain Mao.
And I'm the fantabulous emancipation of Weapon 2.
And thank you for joining us on this episode, and we will bring you our official review for Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
The Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
I would like to apologize to all our viewers for getting that title wrong, but it is quite possibly the dumbest fucking movie title I've ever heard. And that is not indicative as to my opinion of the movie. We'll get to that here in a minute. But Weapon 2, how the hell are you? Thank you for joining us on this review.
Well, I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking, Captain Mal. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to talk about this. So, as always, we'll keep the first part of this review spoiler-free. Weapon 2, what are your overall thoughts on the latest installments of the DC Cinematic Universe?
Well, let me tell you here, Captain Mal, when I went into seeing this movie, like I said before on our podcast that we'll be posting soon, I was hoping to I was trying to go in with a positive attitude. I had said some things about what I thought it was going to be, my feelings that I got from watching the trailer, and I was going in hoping that this thing was going to be good.
Was it good?
I'll tell you what.
What?
When it started out, I felt like when it started out, it was going in a direction that I could get on board with, and I'll tell you why when we go to do spoilers. So I saw some things happening. I formulated an idea of what I thought this movie was in my mind, and when I did that, I said, I think that they might make this work. And then I was disappointed because they didn't. So there was a lot of things that just came out of nowhere. There's a lot of things that I'll go into about how I felt about some of the character portrayals in this when we do spoilers. Like I said, I felt like it could have got me on the bandwagon at the beginning, but I felt like I was like in one of those movies where somebody's trying to pull me up and I'm halfway up and I think I'm going to make it and then they just let me go. That's what I felt like. How about you? Tell me.
All right, so I'm not going to lie. If you watch any of our content, and you should, we've been talking a lot of shit about this movie. Myself specifically, I've been hating on this movie quite a bit. And like yourself, I don't ever go into anything wanting to hate it. I would have loved to go into this and been pleasantly surprised. I wanted to go into this and like this and give this every chance in the world. And yeah, the trailers look stupid and everything looked dumb, and I was expecting it to be that. But going into the movie and then watching the movie, I was actually pleasantly surprised because the movie was infinitely more boring than it was stupid. And rest assured, there was plenty of stupid in this movie. This movie was one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen, and simultaneously one of the most boring movies I've ever experienced in theaters, and that's not nothing. That's not nothing. The way that they interconnected and interweaved boredom and sheer stupidity is impressive, because usually you get one or the other. You don't get both. This movie was fucking garbage. And it was garbage for every single reason that I thought it would be leading up to it. But it also was garbage on a whole bunch of levels that I didn't think it was even going to go near. And again, we'll get into it in spoilers, but I was bored. I didn't give a shit about any character on screen. It was stupid. It was chaotic. It was all over the place. It lacked narrative focus. It lacked any kind of consistency in tone. It lacked any kind of true connection with the characters and any kind of actual representation of the characters and what they actually are in the comics. This movie failed on every conceivable level, but I can't even hate it because it didn't fail as spectacularly as something as Hellboy. So it's not as bad as that, but it was really bad and I was really bored, and it's something that I'll have no desire to ever watch again. It's something that I'll never even really have a desire to talk about again outside of this review. It was bad, but simultaneously mediocre.
Oh, I bet you'll bring it up again.
Oh, I probably will.
I bet you will. I mean, I know at least one thing. When we go to talk about our worst movies of the year, I bet it'll be on your list.
Oh,
so you'll talk about it again.
You have a spot, dear Birds of Prey. It was simultaneously offensively bad, but amazingly boring, and I'm really shocked. Like it was crazy.
Okay.
So that's pretty much my overall thoughts. Should you see this in theaters? No, do not waste your money. Avoid this movie like the plague. If you're a hardcore Harley Quinn fan, this is something that's not a spoiler. We talked about her accent coming into this movie, like the Harley Quinn accent that she's doing, and that it sounded more like aggressive than what she was doing in Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. And that's true about half the time. Half the time she does it, and then like half the movie she just forgets to do it. And then she's just like talking normal, and it's like mid-scene she'll remember, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a stupid fucking accent. And then she'll just do it again, and you're like, what in the hell are you doing? And it doesn't even come off like as character-driven, oh, the character's great. No, it's just like, oh, Margot Robbie forgot to do the fucking accent. Did you get that at all?
I got that. You know, you'd think that there's somebody that would be paid to be on set to say, hey, remember to do the accent. I mean, that could be their only job. Yeah. Hey, we're going to this scene. Remember to do the accent.
Yeah, that wasn't that at all. Even the action was boring and stupid. Most of the fight sequences, minus one that I'll talk about in the spoilers, was 1,000% uninteresting. Most of this movie made me cringe. So yeah, I'd say don't watch it in theaters at all. Do not waste your time. Watch it for free. Do not pay money. Do not reward them with your hard-earned cash. But that's just me. Weapon 2, do you think people should go watch this in the theaters?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Anything you want to say before you spoil it?
No, I got a lot of things I want to say in spoilers, so...
Okay, so
here, cheers.
Cheers.
Here we go, going into spoilers.
Another crappy DC movie. Way to keep breaking my heart, Warner Brothers. Oh, that hides the pain. Okay, spoiler alerts. We're about to dive deep into this abomination of a movie. Weapon 2. I don't even care where you start. Just start talking about the movie.
All right, here we go. This is what when I go in. I want to try, if I'm going to enjoy a movie and I'm going to try to understand it, I try to figure out the direction they're going. What are they trying to do here? Okay. I mean, and I'll tell you when this thing started, this is where what I started to formulate in my mind and started to think, okay, let me see where this takes me. I had already figured out this isn't a Birds of Prey movie.
No.
Just like Joker wasn't a Joker movie.
No.
It was a movie that had very little to do with the characters. It was just this character-driven movie. So when it started, I was going, okay, they're just saying this Birds of Prey thing. They just want to introduce some female characters into this movie. It's going to be a girl power movie. Fine. Okay, I can be on board with that if that's what we're going to get. The next thing that they started doing was I kind of liked the way they started it with the narrative. It started looking at kind of like a more cheeseball maybe version of a Deadpool type direction they were going. So I said, oh, okay. So I kind of liked the way they were at first making the callbacks with the little smiley faces and stuff drawn on the people and crossing people off. And when they were going through that thing, I started, okay, I can see where they're going with this. I'm going to accept this for what it is. And if they're taking me on a ride just like this, and they continue this thing through the whole thing, I'm going to appreciate it for what it was. Just an over-the-top. She had a really, really over-the-top accent going, just over-the-top stuff going on. I said, okay, I'm on board. I see what this movie is, and it's okay. For what I'm understanding it is, they're taking me along for the ride. Then things got completely chaotic. It got really inconsistent. It's almost like in this movie that they had made me start to believe is going to be a certain thing. They started trying to insert some cheeseball or some serious moments into it, which the way they started this thing, don't start trying to take me down a serious road because you've already got me on this other train. The Black Mask, who I think is a pretty cool character in comic books, very interesting. For this, he just seemed to be dollar store Joker. He seemed to be their discount Joker that they brought in to fill a Joker role. And it was just a guy who's trying to imitate a Joker-like character, which that's what it felt like. They didn't feel like they introduced me to a new interesting villain. Just somebody that's trying to make me feel like there's a Joker involved in this still without being a Joker. So I didn't like that. There was some things where it seemed like, the whole story got really chaotic. The one thing that about the time where I almost stood up in the middle of the theater and said, "Oh, for Christ's sake," was when the Black Canary did her yell at the end. So you don't tell me anything about Black Canary this entire movie, anything that would make me believe in your world that she has any type of a superpower.
No context of a metahuman or anything.
Yeah, nothing. And it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't even know if anybody really even knew she could do this. But all of a sudden, it's like, conveniently, we're painted into a corner here. We're out of bullets. We have no other option. And Harley Quinn goes, "Hey, Black Canary, do that thing you do," or whatever.
Well, Weapon 2, you just need to pay attention because she said earlier she has a killer voice, and clearly that should have told you that.
Yeah,
she's
while
a
she was singing. Yes, you're right. Yeah. No, you're right. I should have been paying attention.
Bad.
Yes. And so then she screams, but she tells everybody before she screams to cover their ears, except for Harley Quinn comes roller skating out without her ears covered right through her voice wave. It just, at that point, even though I wasn't on board and I thought the movie had gone off the rails already, that was almost I almost outburst. You've got to be kidding me, So I don't know. I liked Bruce the Hyena. He was cool. I was upset when we lost him for a little while because I missed him during that part of the movie. He was really my favorite character. My second favorite character, the taxidermied beaver. Mm-hmm. My third favorite character, the taxidermied bear that was in the evidence holding area of the precinct. That was it. Those are my favorite characters in the movie. How about you? Tell me.
Well, first, I'm going to take a drink of this dark brown water that I have because much like the writers in the movie, I don't care. There we go. Okay. You're completely right. Bruce the Hyena was my favorite character. He was the funniest and had the most endearing qualities about him. This movie started off not terribly with a little animation, a little cartoon showing what had happened since Suicide Squad, and that was fine. Mm-hmm. And then 30 seconds in, the movie immediately fails because it shows Joker dumped Harley Quinn. And then it's about her being heartbroken and her being sad and her being crazy and her doing all this stuff following that. Wow. So here's the thing. I hate to break it to anybody who thinks that Joker and Harley Quinn have this like romanticized relationship about like crazy finding crazy and bonding and all this kind of stuff. And anybody who thinks that's like a fun, crazy, healthy relationship is a moron because... No, Joker is a manipulative, abusive psychopath, and Harley Quinn has severe...
severe
Stockholm syndrome. And in many ways, Harley Quinn is the Joker's greatest victim because he'll never love her, ever. So when she actually does leave him, it is a super empowering moment to her to say, no, F you, I'm leaving, and I'm going to become a supervillain. I'm going to become the boss bitch. I'm going to become better than you ever were. And the Harley Quinn cartoon on DC Universe nails that.
Yeah.
It shows how hard it was for her to see that. But
that's really good. Watch that.
Yeah, watch that. But then when she does it, it's amazing and you're 100% on board with it. This never gives you a moment anywhere close to that. And if the whole point of this movie is female empowerment and like Harley Quinn, yay, this is the exact wrong movie for that. Like that never goes anywhere close to that point at all. So that is an immediate fail on your overall point of this movie. Mm-hmm. So that's hard to recover from. And then, like, you spend so much time with Harley Quinn and the aftermath of her with the Joker and all of that. It's interesting enough, but it's never truly engaging. So this movie's called Birds of Prey. You spend so much time with Black Canary, but learn precisely fuck all about her backstory and what's going on with her. It is super boring.
Never even realized that she had this superpower you find out about.
Every club scene with her and Black Mask, you learn nothing about her, nothing about her motivations or anything. Huntress is hardly in the movie, and she has arguably the most interesting backstory. When they actually touch on her backstory, it's pretty close to what actually happens in the comics.
She had a good backstory, and actually, the few times she had some dialogue or something, I kind of liked the way she was portraying the character.
She was.
The way she talked.
Until then, they made it a joke when she's trying to do her introduction about shit, because you can't have an earnest moment in this movie without making a joke about it.
Right.
And then you completely undercut the seriousness and the gravity of what's happening with that character. So then you're just like, whatever. They have Cassandra Cain, which is in the comics, I believe, the second or third Batgirl ever, and completely change everything about that character and make her just this little pickpocket kid. You have the cop. Who's the cop? Renee Montoya, who again in the comics is a badass female detective who is turned into a joke and a laughingstock and nobody to be taken seriously. And the way it groups all of these characters together is through Black Mask, who, holy shit, the same way that anybody to follow in the footsteps of Jack Nicholson's Joker, following him, talking about freaking Riddler, Jim Carrey, and Tommy Lee Jones playing Two-Face, and everybody after that was just playing their comical version of his Joker. You hit the nail on the head. Black Mask was playing Jared Leto's Joker.
Right.
That's all he was doing,
right.
and it was comical, and it was over the top, and it was... But then out of nowhere would have these moments of sheer horror and terror when he's like ripping the girl's clothes off, making her dance on the stage and all that.
Yeah.
And it seemed at that point so out of place tonally in this movie. It's not like, oh, the movie's fun and crazy and all, and then it has a moment of horror and you're like, oh my god, shit got right. No, it just felt raw. It felt like a scene that didn't belong in the movie whatsoever.
You know, the thing is, when I say that it was all over the place and that the serious moments felt out of place, I'm not even saying that there's not people, because I've seen movies that were dark comedies where they would insert some serious moments, and the way they did it
worked.
This is just the way you do it, and it doesn't work.
This is so out of place. It didn't feel like it belonged in the same movie, and it didn't do the job of feeling uncomfortable and holy. No, it just felt wrong. And okay, Victor Zsasz is one of the creepiest fucking Batman villains out there. He's so dark and fucked up and terrifying, and he's almost a joke until he has his one serious moment also, which feels terrible and out of place and like rather creepy with Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. And so that entire thing with him's dumb. The total and it keeps building and building and building to get all of them together. And then when the third act finally gets going, you're like, oh my god, finally this thing was gonna stop dragging and get moving. And then that action sequence and like the Joker's old like warehouse or whatever was the dumbest fucking action sequence I've ever. Like nothing about it was engaging. Nothing about it was fun. Everything about it was stupid and like didn't make any sense. Leading up to her using the Canary Cry out of nowhere, and then Black Mask dying, spoilers, out of nowhere. Nothing about this movie worked. Nothing about this movie made any sense. Everything about it was stupid and just... I would like to say an artistic choice for like just making it a very like bright stylistic movie, but it failed on that level too. The only fight scene that was actually fun to me was when Harley Quinn... The first one.
Well, for me, it was the first one when she went into the police station.
I was literally about to say when she was fighting in the evidence lockup, got the coke, and they started playing "Whoa, Black Betty."
Yeah, no,
that was the only fun one.
That was my favorite movie later on. But so back to when I say I was on board for a certain extent, I was on board all the way up to that initial fight at the police station. For me, I felt like the movie was going in that direction that I had imagined in my head, and it was okay. I can see this, and it had a kind of a Deadpool kind of. She did break the fourth wall
a couple times, which is cool.
Yeah, and so that's the way I was feeling. But the problem was, in a movie like this, where you're cutting people's faces off and you're doing all kinds of dark things, throw in some bunch of killing. Okay, I'm just saying, because in these fights right here, the choreography was not horrible. Okay, there was some of it was pretty cool. It wasn't as pinpoint as you would see in a lot of other movies where you're going, holy cow and wow. So the choreography wasn't top notch, like for a movie where you're just going to be fighting over and over again. I think it does need to be. And then it just there's only so much where you can see people hitting each other with clown hammers, and in that film where you're talking about, or the part where you're talking about where she's doing some bat work, kind of some of the baseball bat stuff got cool there for a second, but then there's so much of just all of that it gets very boring.
And like at the final fight scene, none of it, so they send in like 24 guys, none of whom apparently have guns. One guy with a gun would have solved all of that.
Right.
And they're doing the dumbest fight choreography possible, like on roller skates and jumping on like a bouncing balloon, and just like all of that was dumb as shit. That was offensively bad.
Much like when we're talking about Fast and the Furious, when they all of a sudden lost their guns for a while, or in that movie that just came out.
Right.
Okay, here's the thing: in a world where everybody has automatic weapons and guns, don't try to make me believe that people with bats and wood hammers can take them out. Don't, because I'm not buying it.
But
I'm just not going to buy it.
And I cannot even believe I'm defending Fast and the Furious at this point. At least they've given me 5 movies to desensitize me to the stupid. Like, this movie just out of nowhere expects me to buy into how dumb that premise is.
Yeah,
and I'm like, sure. And like Margot Robbie, like there were flashes of this movie where she was fun and entertaining. There were flashes of this movie that made me laugh, and there were flashes of this movie that made me go, "Oh, that's creepy." It's a handful of times.
Yeah.
Doesn't even tally up to a couple minutes worth. And like, again, I was expecting to come into this and either be surprised and love it. Not really. What I was really thinking was going to happen is I was going to hate this and think it was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. But again, it's impressive because, like, yeah, it was bad and I didn't like it at all. But I'm not really like passionately angry at it because it was so fucking boring for the majority of the movie. I didn't even have the energy to be mad at it. Like, I can't emphasize enough because we're complaining obviously about things that we didn't like that happened. I can't emphasize enough. I was bored through 80% of this movie. There was so much stupid nonsense and downtime. It didn't matter. But Bruce the Hyena stole the show. For the 3.5 minutes he's on screen, he was the funniest part of this whole fucking movie.
Yeah, and the stuffed beaver.
And the beaver.
He was a good character in the movie.
And Harley Quinn's love for what I have to say admittedly looked like a
sandwich?
great breakfast sandwich.
Oh my God, sandwich.
I'm not gonna lie. That looked like a good fucking breakfast sandwich.
I take it back. The sandwich was the second best character.
That looked...
The beaver was the third.
He got a whole lot more screen time than freaking Huntress, that's for sure.
I mean, I cared more about that sandwich than most of the characters in this movie. I'm telling you, when we felt like we lost the sandwich to the street,
that was pretty sad.
I was heartbroken.
I will also, just for the sake of saying it, there were a few times Ewan McGregor was very good. He played a kooky, crazy, like elaborate guy, and then played the dark, creepy very well. Like he was good. He was just better than anything else in this movie, so it didn't matter.
In my opinion, you have to blame a situation like this on a director and the people who wrote the script. Because I'm telling you, I think they had some tools here that if they would have went in the right direction, and I don't make movies for a living, but when I see this stuff where I feel like, geez, if I was there and somebody would have listened to me, I think I could have talk him into making a better movie.
Are we sure we want to do that?
Yeah, because there's just some really obvious things where you have to say, we could go in a different direction right here and do this a different way, and it would work a lot better.
We've said it leading up to this. Part of our frustration with this movie is that this is a premise that could be amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not only like not amazing, but it's terrible is really annoying.
And it could be varying degrees from excellent to just pretty good, where you come out and go, no, I think that was a pretty good movie.
I would have loved it to be.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, it's amazing how people who make their living doing this can just just be so out of touch.
I can't get how you watch the final cut of this movie and are just like, nailed it. It's going to be great. Yeah. Like, really? Oh, also, at the time of this recording, its opening weekend numbers aren't in, but it's projected for around $30 million. Which is about $100 million less opening weekend than Suicide Squad. It's going to be the lowest opening in the DCEU, period, by a lot. But for some reason, is getting great reviews. I don't know what fucking movie the critics are watching. I don't know if we count as movie critics. I like to think so.
Yeah, we criticize a lot of movies, so I think we're movie. I think we're movie critics now. I think whether you know it or not.
I feel like we are. And it's not good.
No, I don't really understand why people might think this is a good movie.
Like, I understand difference of opinion, and I get how there's certain movies you could argue one or not, but I feel there's no argument this is a good movie. Like, there's not at all. So. We could ramble on, I think, for a long time. But bottom line, terrible movie. Don't fucking waste your money on it. Weapon 2, closing thoughts?
That's it. I agree with you.
Okay.
I I don't know I don't know. I was going to ask you what the next movie coming up is, but I don't know.
That we're going to review?
Yeah.
Or from DC or whatever?
Whatever the next one coming down the pike is, but it's okay. We don't know right now, but I can't wait to see that one to wash my brain from this one.
We do need a palate cleanser because that was pretty awful. Well, I think the next review, it's not a movie, but I think we're going to do Crisis on Infinite Earths. We're going to talk about the Arrowverse crossover. And Arrow season 8 finale. We're going to talk about that, which is going to be hilarious because Weapon 2 didn't watch Arrow. I
just watched the finale. But you know what?
Great.
It is sad to me that they almost got me on board at the beginning of this, and if they would have just gone with what they seemed like they at the beginning convinced me that the direction they're going, I probably would have come out and said it was an all right movie. But for it just to fall apart and go in so many different directions after that, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Warner Brothers, once again, you impress me, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
All right, that it?
That's it.
All right. Well, as always, thank you for joining us on this episode of the world's greatest news and reviews. If you've enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications.
Hey, and check us out on theworldsgreatest.net. Theworldsgreatest.net.
Awesome.
Peace.